Okay, so we're going to start week 2 of our Jedi history journey. This week we're going to be looking at Jedi Lore, which is probably the second Jedi website that was really created that helped build the Jedi community. Now, this website was very much geared towards what would be labeled RPGism, which is, in essence, is it was focused on and was about role playing, and that's what it grew out of. That was its original intent, but as it evolved, it took the ideas and said, well, can I live by the same code and ethics that my character does? So it's very much about character building within the Star Wars universe, but then taking those ideas and then applying them to everyday life. It used very fictional terminology, kind of like the site we looked at last week. And these sites kind of collectively made up the early days, which were often looked at as RPGism. The creator of this website is Gordon. He went by the name Jedi with a G, and the actual creation date really isn't known, but it looks to be about, we kind of date it late 1996 to about early 1997. We know for sure in the summer of 1997, when the re-release of the original trilogies came out, that this site was definitely going, and it was one of the sites that I found when I was re-looking for the Jedi community in 1997 because of Star Wars. This was one of the sites that I found and actually really enjoyed. So I've already shared the link with people, and there should be links available in the videos or things wherever you logged in at. And it's just Jedi Living, Jedi Archive, Jedi Lore. And when you come to the page, it's going to say enter apprenticeship, and it's going to have an enter button. Go ahead, hit that enter button. It's going to have a pop-up. It's going to ask you to enter your name. Enter whatever name you like, your little Jedi name, your real name, whatever works for you, and that's what this site has. It has a lot of meaty files. That's why all our guests right now are on mute, so you don't get bombarded with that 5 times over. But you'll notice that as you log in to that, enter your name, it'll welcome you with your name. It was very entertaining, probably the most advanced site of its kind at the time. Really brought you into the universe, and really made you feel like you were jumping in to the Star Wars universe. You really felt inspired with it. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is this kind of website was made out of the love of the Star Wars fiction, but really more out of the books that started coming out in 1996 and 97 and 98, which were like the Young Jedi Knight series. These were very popular books at the time, and the creator of this website was a huge fan and someone who wrote fan fiction in Star Wars himself, and he really just enjoyed the storytelling and kind of how stories had an impact on people, and that, yeah, it's fiction, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make you feel something real, and it doesn't, that can still impact your life and kind of help you through tough decision and tough times. So he really ran with that, and we'll see that. The very first link you're going to see here, though, at the top of the page is Jedi Lore, and it says the influential impact of Jedi and Jedi Lore. This section is actually written by Relin Volcom, and he was one of the creators of Jedi Creed, and he ended on creating the Jedi United and the Jedi Organization, which would become just known as Jedi, one of the more popular sites of its time. Jedi Creed was a very popular site of its time as well. And he just talks about how he found this site and how he felt it impacted. It does have a little hint of hero worship in there, looking back fondly This was his first Jedi site, and it kind of really introduced him to the world that would eventually bring him to meet Serene and Myth, and those three would be the ones that create the Jedi Creed. So really, this website is his beginning, and you can really see that in his reminiscing about the site and kind of the impact the site had. You can look that over at any time, but it's a little long, but it is an interesting part of history, and it shows another Jedi's take on the website. Instead, um, instead, just for summary purposes, actually, I think what we'll do here is we'll just open it up. I'm going to open it up to any general questions real quick before we move on to kind of the highlights and examples of RPGism. So either in the chat box or show of hands, is there anybody that has any sort of questions or comments or anything of that nature? Or like, hey, I remember this site and I have a funny little story. No. Okay, fine. All right. I'm awesome that way. I will continue to talk. All right, so moving on these links, you're going to see a few choices here. You have Jedi Scope, Dark Lore, Jedi Holocron, Jedi Lore, which with the G, Knowledge of the Force, and the Jedi Trials and Trials of a Jedi. Trials of a Jedi, at the very bottom there, is actually one of the books that Jedi actually took the time and wrote out an entire book, and he wrote the chapters onto the thing, and you don't have to click on that. I just want to share that as a sign of that's how much time and dedication and love that he had for the fiction. Like, he just wanted to share these stories from the Star Wars universe, even if that meant typing out an entire novel onto the internet. But the first one I want to look at, and the first link you can click on, is Knowledge of the Force.
So be it, Jedi.
And Knowledge of the Force just has this really great example of RPGism, kind of the mixture that's had. In the very first paragraph of Knowledge 1, Origin, the very first paragraph just talks about, hey, Star Wars, this is why you probably liked it. This is why I like it. We very much take it as entertainment. The very next paragraph, Jedi introduces himself as a Jedi Master from Highthorpe 4, a planet that, yeah, so, and it's this continued mixture back and forth that he has throughout the entire website, but is really prevalent in the Knowledge of the Force section, that it fluctuates and it jumps back between, oh no, yeah, Star Wars, yeah, it's fictional movie. Oh, by the way, I'm an actual Jedi Master from this and that, and I from another planet in a galaxy far, far away. And it's this mix that makes it entertaining, I guess. It was always fun to read it, and you kind of, I don't know, when I first read it and went through it, there was, I knew it wasn't real, but you still had that, oh man, that wonder, that what if though, just what if, you really wanted it to be real, you definitely wanted to. I know when I was young and I was doing that, I wanted to find my Yoda, I wanted to find my Jedi Master. So the idea that there was this wise older being out there that could that had been a Jedi for so long was definitely one of those things that kept the wonder there. But reality is what it is. But it allowed you to keep that kind of dream and fantasy alive as you went through it. And there were a lot of great parts, throughout this entire section. The other links only go so far, like Knowledge 4 and Knowledge 5. are actually on a separate web page. So if you click those links, you'll be directed to a different web page. But at your leisure, when we're done here, if you guys want to go through it, of course, or come back to it on another day, it's all here for you, and you can go through those lessons and kind of see the highlights of that mixture of fiction and reality, and the desire to kind of blend them together, and at the same time, reading back through it now, you're just like, man, it does not, or at least I'm like, it does not work. It kind of pulls you out of it, but at the time, I definitely had a different view when I first discovered it.
You cannot escape your destiny.
Okay, so with that section, it was just a quick section where I wanted to highlight some of the RPGism kind of examples. But with that section done, is there any questions or... Ooh, we have a question. Ooh, I can do this. I can do this. No, maybe I cannot. Can you? Yeah.
I can do that.
Thank you.
I didn't want to click it while you were clicking it and have us, be in a meeting more. My question is, so, you speak about RPGism as something that is very much in the past in our community, and certainly it's not as prevalent as it used to be, and it clearly is on this site. Do you think there's still a place for it in the modern Jedi community?
Yeah, if done right, absolutely, absolutely. I think the power of storytelling is prevalent. I mean, our whole path is kind of built off the idea that stories can really inspire us to live in a very specific manner. And I think getting the chance to explore tougher decision making and kind of exploring how you make decisions, why you make the decisions you do, can really be done in a role-playing setting. Role-playing games and stuff like that, creating your character, you kind of get to explore, well, my character would act this way when faced with this kind of decision. And I think, so yeah, if done right, if done in moderation, if, boundaries and, clarity was set, absolutely, because then you could, and you'd really have to structure it in a sense of the character would very much have to be you, but you in maybe like the Star Wars universe, right? You as a Jedi, how would that affect you? And then when you are faced with tough moral choices or moral ambiguity, like how do you come to your decisions? Why did you come to that decision? What did you base that decision off? I think could be great teaching tools and great ways to kind of explore not only the Jedi philosophy in general, but also kind of the ethics behind it and why we do what we do. And it allows us to explore more extreme cases that we just, don't get in everyday life as well. Kind of prepare yourself for the tougher decisions without actually being in the fire. Prep work, basically. Certainly hypothetical questions and things of that nature are used throughout teaching tools. So certainly in it would have to very much be structured. Yeah, there's plenty of addendums, but yeah, I think RPGism, if we are to continue that, continue the use of isms, would still have a place in the Jedi community. Certainly.
Cool. Thanks.
No problem. Yes, Christopher, go ahead. I think you...
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, I just wanted to clear, how we would use role play in today's Jedi community as opposed to this, because looking at it, you really see it's a mix mash. He's from... for whatever the planet was. He said, I'm a Jedi from Hyperion 4 who saw the movies in 1977. It's like literally in the same sentence, blending real life and role play. But one of the strengths of the Jedi path is that we recognize that our core mythology is a work of fiction, and when we role play, it's a fictional environment that we're playing in. But we have real life applications that come out of that, and it's like you have to, one informs the other, but we have to have this clear demarcation between the two. I just want to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're correct. That's why certainly I'd feel there needs to be structure and standards and clear guidelines of what is done. But I think examples of that we have seen in certain games like Star Wars Galaxies when that was big. I mean, I was a huge Star Wars Galaxies fan. Especially pre-NGE. And you could really explore your character in that and kind of the essence, and you sat down in cantinas. Back then, I didn't even go out anywhere. I didn't explore the world. I sat in cantinas and I socialized and I hung out and I talked with people, and you got to explore kind of, but you still were faced with in-game challenges, and then of course the challenges of personalities in general. But you kind of got to explore your own character and motivations and how that would affect decisions, and it always led something back to you, like, oh yeah, I made this decision rash. I made a rash decision because this frustrates me or that, and it allows you to explore yourself. Star Wars: The Old Republic now, there's a lot of role playing there where people can play Jedi and kind of grow through, and with BioWare's use of the light side dark side system, like why did you could follow someone around and be like, okay, so you made this choice. Now the game tells you that's a dark side choice, but is it? And why did you make it? Why did you make that dark side choice? And you can kind of explore the understandings. Second Life is a game where a lot of role playing happens, and again, as you said, a clear line is established, but you get to explore kind of decisions and philosophies and application, like why we do what we do, like why physical fitness is important, why emotional stability is important, so things of that nature. So absolutely, I agree with you. It definitely needs guidelines and structure, but could be used under the right circumstances. Okay, so any other questions? All right. There's a couple of you I don't have video of, so you're probably gonna, like Randy, Paris, and Hannigan. If you guys have questions, you'll have to type it into the chat box for me. Okay, so moving on. The next area I wanted to look at, and we're just gonna kind of look at a page, is the one right under Knowledge of the Force. Is called Other Force Adepts, and that's letter R.
A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense.
And actually, I'm just bringing this up because I wanted to point out a few things. And this is basically just a links page, right? This is just kind of what existed at the time in 1997. And one of the things I love to point out here is at the very bottom of that list is the Jedi Academy. And that is the website that we did look at last week. The Jedi Academy, or the Jedi Praximium on Yavin 4. As I said, that was kind of like, it's looked to as the first Jedi website, and these two kind of ushered in the way. So I always like just kind of pointing that one out, as it is kind of shows that there was a community, and these things weren't necessarily born in a vacuum. They were aware of each other and kind of built off of each other. Also, the thing that I wanted to point out is the second link is the cantina, and this was the most isolated cantina, and it was just a chat room, but this is where a lot of the interaction took place. This is where Jedi with a G would come in and actually interact with members of the community. Unlike Karis Nightflyer, who didn't really interact with the community at all, just kind of had his sight, Jedi did interact, and he actually ended up taking an apprentice, and her name was Teone, and she still fluctuates in the community here and there. She was last active at Jedi Academy Online and the Real Jedi Knights website, but that was a couple years ago. But she kind of still floats around. But that was where she started, and she was good friends with two other people who were very popular in that chat room, and that was Myth and Serene. And these two individuals would end up, inspired by this site, creating their own websites. One, Myth would create Jedi Alliance, and Serene would create Jedi Alliance 2. They would eventually come together to create the Jedi Council website, and Relin Volcom ends up joining this website, and that comes together in early 1999. And in that time, it was like 98, 99, they're putting these ideas together. The three of them are administrators and thinking of where they want to go and the ideas that they have. And out of that, they end up building the Jedi Creed by the end of summer, about August 1999. The Jedi Creed comes out, and it's a huge success, very big for its time, and it brought over a lot of the people from the Cantina and that were fans of the Jedi Lore site, and it's why Jedi Creed had a very big role-playing presence when it was first created, because they already had this community that they had grown out of and created great friendships, out of game friendships with, and it helped move the community and pushed it forward. The Creed would later become, or later start the project, the Jedi United, and that would evolve into the Jedi Organization. And after some ups and downs and some interesting history in itself, which we'll get around to eventually, because there's some stories there. It would grow into Jedi, and Jedi would take over the Jedi Academy's place as the most popular and most active and most known Jedi website during its time. And so, and that all, it just has that direct lineage. I mean, there's no second. One led to the other, one led to the other, one led to the other, and it was all growth, and it was all community, it was all sharing ideas, and it was just hopeful people looking to the horizon and wanting to continue to grow and push this idea of Jedi forward. That one could be a Jedi Knight, one could live the lifestyle of a Jedi Knight, and you can look at the things that have come out of that. When you look at just the Jedi, they had a whole academic program that came out of it that ended up spawning other programs, and you can look at those programs. You can, and again, following direct lineage, you can look at the Institute of Jedi Realist Studies and see how that was born out of Jedi's academic structure. And so you look at that, and then you can look back at this website, Jedi Lore, with some of the different teachings and things that it had, the mixture of fiction and things of that nature, and then to this whole Jedi Realist Studies, which has a completely different take, completely different material, light and day, but one is directly born out of the other. So that's why I just like showing this page, because you can look back and you can see that these groups kind of grew out of each other, and it's just a fun, just a fun thing on for me, I guess. So before we continue, is there any questions? Show of hands or questions? Nope. Okay. All right. No questions. So the last one I'm going to get to, I'm not trying to take up everybody's time. The last link we're going to look at is C, and it's right under that one, and it's the Jedi Trials.
Father, how for Jedi was he?
Okay, so the Jedi Trials at Jedi Lore was actually, this site is the first one to offer Jedi Trials. Okay, there were no Jedi Trials even in the Cantina. Character-wise, it was all Master Apprentice, and there weren't really Jedi Trials per se. Oftentimes, it was just, you know, how did you vibe, and it was more story-driven, right? So there weren't really Jedi Trials, and obviously, Karis Nightflyer's site, no Jedi Trials to be had. You know, this was the first site to offer any sort of Jedi Trials. Of course, the addendum being that the Jedi Trials were certainly fun, but what they are choose your own adventure, and that's all they are. They're choose your own adventure, and you kind of work through them with everything. You know, it assumes you've read everything off the site, and if you have gone through all the material on the site, you will breeze through these Jedi trials without any questions. But and they're fun. I'm not going to have us go through them because they are stories, and so it would, you know, there would just be, you know, a good 10 minutes of us sitting here staring at the computer screen, you know, as we read through them. But I certainly encourage everybody to go through them. They are fun, and I don't know when the last time was that you picked up a choose your own adventure book. It's been a while for me, but I always enjoyed them, and so you go through it, and if you get all your answers correct, you are given, you know, it says congratulations, you've passed all the trials, you're a Jedi Knight. And it really brought you in. It made you feel like you kind of accomplished something. But certainly the standards aren't what they are today. But you did actually have people who felt that these were enough, and you would have people in the early Jedi community days, even in 1999, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a Jedi Knight. I was knighted at Jedi Lore. Yeah, passed the Jedi trial, so I'm a Jedi Knight." There's really no there's no standard really per se. It's just storytelling, and I mean the thing is, well, how would a Jedi act? You know. In the very first trial, the trial of Nanda, I believe it is, or is it Mengu? I don't know. I'm getting lost on it. I think it's the trial of Nanda, but it talks about you're basically a young Jedi or a young girl, and you had a family member that you knew took place in the Clone Wars, and it kind of follows the story, and it asks like, well, what do you do in this situation? And it's like, to just break it down, basically, do you seek more knowledge? Do you seek more information? Do you ignore this you know, twist and just go on with your day, or do you follow kind of the clues in ignorance? Basically, like there's clues leading you somewhere, but you don't know why, you don't know what. You're kind of in the dark. So do you follow that, or do you go seek information? And spoiler alert, the idea for Jedi is there is no ignorance, there's knowledge, right? So it's about seeking knowledge. So you go and you find the information. That's kind of the test of that particular trial and that particular adventure is, do you boldly, you know, go investigate, or do you just ignore it and forget about it, or do you seek information? So there was actual lessons tied in, you know, that fit with the Jedi ideals, but certainly going through it, you weren't a Jedi Knight, right? You know, but you certainly probably understood the principles of what made Jedi Jedi. But most people who watch Star Wars as a movie probably understand that. Doesn't make them Jedi Knights. It's certainly fun. I definitely recommend it. They're great. You know, choose your own adventures are always fun. And who knows, maybe you can then let us know if you were a Jedi Knight as knighted at Jedi Lore, and we can have a few more hundred Jedi Knights running around in our community. Rightfully titled, I guess, you know. But yeah, it's great. it's a great site. It was definitely innovative, and definitely fun. A lot of fun. Uh, but yeah, definitely with a grain of salt. It's kind of how all RPGism from those days was. You had to dig through it, and find the lessons yourselves. It very much encouraged that kind of research and study and trial and error, and trying to find the application that worked best for you, and the things that were fluff, that were just there for entertainment purposes. So it helped in continuing what most Jedi were already doing with Star Wars in general. So yeah, enjoy the trials. Those are definitely fun. But that's basically like the last one
You cannot escape your destiny.
that I wanted to show, the last link that I wanted to show with people. So before we end this, we'll take any questions. Hands, questions. Question. You guys are super boring, man. You guys are not providing any entertainment for like the two people watching this. Hi, Mom. How you doing? Thank you for supporting me. But yeah, come on. Seriously. Okay, so that's basically it. I loved Jedi Lore when it first came out. It definitely inspired me and continued me on my path. I did that for a lot of Jedi, and like I said, there's a direct lineage to some of the biggest Jedi sites out there, which we will continue to touch on as we go through history. And you can kind of see this. Sometimes it's a spider web on our history, and sometimes it's a direct line, a very linear line that we'll get to trace back. So thank you for joining me, and thank you to all the guests. You guys can continue to hang out after we sign off, but that'll be it. Have a wonderful day.